So I find myself with pocket aces, and if you're going to quit your job to play poker like I did, you're going to need to consistently play well, but you're also going to need to get some good cards. Thankfully here, the poker gods have blessed me with the best starting hand, but now I've got to do something with it. So first interesting hand of the day we need to get caught up on a little bit. I just barely got to the table. I'm not even fully set up and recording yet. I call a cutoff raise under the gun limps, cutoff raise to 15. I call on the button with king 3 of clubs. Probably should just be a fold, but whatever. We're trying to set the tone early in this session. And then the under the gun calls as well. So we got like $45, $48, whatever in the pot going to the flop. Flop is ace 10 4 rainbow, and it checks around. Then we get to the turn. This is going to be a jack. Now under the gun checks again, and cutoff decides to bet $15 into like $50-ish dollars. Now again, once it's been such passive action, I've checked, under the guns checked twice, whatever, he bet small. I want to attack this. I think this is some weakness. I think both the players have capped their ranges, so I decided to raise it up to 60. Obviously this is just like a straight up airball bluff. This is just trying to play the situation more so than playing the cards, whatever. And then under the gun decides to make it like 200 or something ridiculous. So he was just trapping and slow playing, and obviously cutoff folds, I fold as well. Not necessarily the best start to the session, but I still think it was a good spot. I still think it was a good idea. I think that under the gun guy is going to have nothing more often than not, and I honestly think this is a pretty good bluff spot. Really fun one here when the low jack opens to 20. Eventually the hijack decides to bump it up to $65, and I look at pocket queens in the cutoff. Now obviously you could definitely go for the cold 4-bet here. Pocket queens a very, very strong hand, but the thing here is that the low jack has been just giving it away. He's playing very, very crazy, and the hijack, I don't know any of these people. Obviously, I haven't been playing in Texas very long, but he looks a little bit more reggy. He's kind of talking strategy at the table, doing some weird stuff like that. So I just assume that he's going to be making less and making smaller mistakes than the low jack is going to be. So I don't want to blow the low jack out of this pot and then end up playing, you know, some big pot with the hijack when it's probably just going to be easier money trying to get it from the low jack. So I just decide to call pre-flop. Maybe you're going to agree with that, maybe not. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, I guess. And then of course the low jack is going to end up making the call, so we're going to the flop in what is now a pretty big pot already. So the flop comes down 10-9-4 with a flush draw. It is going to check over to me, and obviously here I'm going to be betting for value. I have a very, very strong hand, a very under-repped hand on this board as well. There's a ton of draws, ton of one pair hands we can get called by. I decided to bet 70 into the 200, and the low jack is not going to take much time before just jamming it in. Now he only has 180 bucks. So not anything I'm too worried about, scared about, whatever. Like I said, he could have one pair, he could have a ton of draws, and if we're behind, so be it. Finally, we got to see obviously what the hijack is going to do as well. He is eventually going to tank and let it go, and I'm going to put in the call pretty quickly, and we are going to a run out. This is going to be a 5 and then a 7. The flush draw is going to brick out. He shows that he actually hit a 5 with queen 5 suited. He did not even have the flush draw on the flop, so he just randomly decided to bluff it off with queen high, ends up picking a pair, showed his hand pretty proudly, like, you know, I don't know if he thought he beat me on a flush draw or what, but yeah, I don't know. I just win with pocket queens against a pair of 5s, and I guess that's why I flatted pre-flop. Kind of an annoying hand here. We look down at pocket queens once again. I guess this is the only hand I play, and after looking at the video, this is actually the exact same suits of pocket queens as well, which is just pretty funny. I'm in +2 here. +1 makes it 20, and again, this is that guy who's like talking strategy at the table. I later on go to find out that this guy's like trying to play GTO, or you know, his version of GTO or whatever at 1-2. I literally saw him like 4-bet ace 4 suited. You know, he's kind of doing some interesting testing live stuff. He's kind of annoying to play against, whatever. Yes, it would be funny to flat him with the queens again here, but I just think this hand's too strong. We need to raise it up. I make it $65, and it's going to fold all the way back to him, and he is going to 4-bet me, but it's pretty much a min click. He's going to go to 135. Now, this is kind of an annoying spot. Like I said, he does some crazy stuff every once in a while, but he literally just saw me flat him with queens earlier in the day. I don't think he's going to be 4-betting me light, and when you're in live poker, you know, 4-bets are going to be aces, they're going to be kings, and they're going to be ace king. Obviously, you could argue, hey, his ace king maybe wants to go a little bit bigger on the raises because most people, you know, want to get folds, or they want to, you know, lower the SPR or scare you off, and they don't want to scare you off with the aces and kings. I don't know. Either way, I'm never jamming here. I'm never folding here. We have to call. We end up seeing a king high flop, and like I said, whatever I'm putting him on, whether it's aces, whether it's kings, whether it's ace king, this is not great news for us, but we're trying to, you know, get this hand over with, trying to get a showdown, I guess, whatever. We check, or he checks on the flop, we check back, and then on the turn, another low card, he is just going to bet $200. Now, again, I don't really know what this bet's trying to accomplish. It seems like a strange sizing to me, but like I said, either way, I don't really think there's anything to do here other than fold. Kind of an annoying spot. We've gotten some really, really nice hands, and they've just kind of been in weird spots so far. But hopefully we keep getting good cards at least. Now, this one is a pretty weird hand against a pretty weird guy, but we have ace king offsuit in the cutoff. Under the gun, or maybe +1, is going to raise it up to $12. Now, obviously, we got ace king. We're going to be bumping it up. We're in position. We don't mind playing a big pot in position with ace king. We're going to raise it up to $50. It gets back to him, and he's going to throw in the call. We're going to go heads up. Pot's around $100. And the flop is going to be 9-7-7 with a flush draw. Now, this is where things start to get weird. And again, kind of a weird guy. He's been doing this all day. This is just how he plays. He leads out here for $6. Now, I don't remember exactly where. It was some content creator, poker vlogger, poker YouTuber, something like that. They said a long time ago, and it's really stuck with me, that whenever people do these weird small bets, you know, people in live poker especially like to do a lot of weird things. Whenever people do these random weird small bets, just treat it as a check. If you were going to check back, just call, whatever. And if you were going to c-bet, then you should just raise. Or if you were going to be betting anyway, you should just raise. So I'm just acting like these little tiny bets are checks, and I decide to raise it up to $30. I was probably going to c-bet around something at that range anyway. Maybe I could bet a little bit bigger since I'm now raising and the pot's a little bit bigger, but whatever. I make it $30. He puts in the call. We go to the turn. It is a 10. The flush does not come in, and now he leads out again, this time for $2. Again, a really, really absurd hand. But this is just how he's been playing. This is literally how he's played every single hand the whole day. It is just his thing, but whatever. Obviously, it's a weird board. I don't necessarily have anything. I'm not folding for $2, but I don't necessarily know that I want to raise again. We definitely could, and it's interesting that he bet even less this time, so maybe I even should raise, but whatever. I decide to put in the call. River is going to be an ace. That is obviously a great card for us. We're happy to see it. That probably means we're in pretty decent shape. And he is going to lead out again this time. This is the third time we've been led into during this hand. He leads out for $12. Now this time, obviously, I'm putting in the raise. The question is, what do I want the size to be? It's, again, strange. He maybe hit the ace now that he's leading bigger. But again, he's just kind of been seemingly throwing out random numbers and random bets and random leads the whole day, leading into people multiple times over and over and over again. Sometimes he has a high card. Sometimes he has a draw. Sometimes he has a big hand, and he's trying to get you to raise. Like, I don't know that there's a ton of logic here. I don't really want to read into it too much. I'm just trying to bet an amount that hopefully makes sense, but maybe this is too small. I honestly don't know. He could just have absolutely nothing. I decided to make it 60, 55. I can't remember exactly what I put in, but he does end up making the call. Obviously, I show the ace king, and he had ace jack. So very strange hand, but we're able to take it down, and we win a nice pot at the end of the day. So if 3 deuce off is the dirty diaper, we have maybe the clean diaper. I don't know. 3 deuce suited in the big blind. We have the hijack making it 10 bucks. Small blind calls. I'm a sucker for these suited connectors, even the little shitty ones, especially closing the action. I'm going to call for 10 bucks. We go to the flop of queen 3 deuce. We smash this flop and the small blind decides to lead. He makes it $36. And that's not enough for me. I decide to make it 100. We're not going to slow play this one. We don't want to see a scary card on the turn. We don't want to, downgrade our hand or scare off this guy either. He seems to definitely be interested here, so why not go after it while we've got it? He goes all in eventually, actually, for $175. So, it's not like calling was ever really going to be an option for him. He was either going to fold or he was going to jam. He does end up sticking it in, and I just tell him, hey, I've got 2 pair, and he's like, oh, if you got 2 pair, that's good. That's great. You're good. I mean, you can even see just from how long he's kind of tanking here. Like I said, eventually he sticks it in. I tell him 2 pair. He says, yeah, 2 pair is amazing, whatever. We go to a run out of an ace and a 5, and we are going to win. And he showed me that he had queen 7 of hearts. So not only did he decide to lead big once he hit the top pair, but he decided to call it off as well. And this time the clean diaper works out pretty good for us. This one is the hand of the session for sure. We get pocket 10s under the gun, straddles on. We raise it up to 15. We have a call in +2 and then another call. Finally, it gets back to the cutoff, who's going to make it $70. Now, aside from a very few select players, there is not much 3-betting at all going on at the 1-2 games here in Texas. Like, once you get 3-bet, there needs to be some alarm bells going off. Like, you better either have a big hand or you better make a big hand, because people are underdoing most aggressive actions on like every street in these games, but they're definitely under aggressing pre-flop. So I mean, whatever. I'm not saying we can fold the pocket 10s here, but I'm saying, man, we need to make a hand probably. But I decided to call the 70. The other 2 players call as well. So we're going 4 ways to the flop in a 3-bet pot. Flop is 8-5 deuce with a flush draw. So we do have an overpair here, which is either great news or horrible news. It checks around to the cutoff, who is going to bet $130. Now, I understand this is less than half pot, but this is still a $130 bet into 3 other players at a 1-2 game. To me, that screams strength. Now, I understand I have an overpair. I don't know. To me, this is a pretty gross spot. I was not honestly really sure what to do. If you told me all in, if you told me call, if you told me fold, I think there is very, very good arguments for all of these. But again, to me, there's just enough red flags here of somebody 3-betting and then betting pretty big. Again, 130 to 1-2 game. That's one of the bigger bets you're going to see the entire day, even though it's less than half pot. I decide to lay down the pocket 10s. Now, the guy after me, this is like an older gentleman to my left, he ends up jamming for like 450, something like that. And as soon as he jams, I'm like, oh my gosh, great fold. I start patting myself on the back. It ends up that the cutoff calls it off. What do they have? They have ace king in the cutoff and ace queen with the guy to my left. This goes from feeling like a great fold and I'm super happy, I'm relieved, to an absolute disaster. And guess what? The board runs out small. It's like deuce 3 offsuit. Neither one of them has a flush draw either. This is just straight up ace king off against ace queen off with no draws or anything like that on the board. So, the old man shows ace queen, the young kid shows ace king, and he's going to take down this monstrous pot. Now, obviously, if I would have called or jammed or whatever, the kid would not have called. The kid just called because it was just one other person. He felt like he was priced in, whatever. But this was a disaster. This was my chance to, be set up in a really, really big pot. And I don't know. Like I said, people in these games are oftentimes, I know it's a live game in Texas. People do crazy stuff. People do weird stuff. Maybe I'm being too tight. Maybe I'm overfolding. Maybe I'm giving people too much credit. I'm not sure. This either was just a good fold that ended up being weird, or this was a punt that I'm doing and I need to recalibrate. I don't know. I need to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about this one. That wrapped up the first session of this video. Obviously kind of a weird up and down session, but we did end up winning 90 bucks. We booked a profit. Obviously we'd like to make more than that, but it is what it is. That puts us at a total during these vlogs of $883. Let's get into the second session. So first hand of the session, I think this one is actually pretty cool, but you guys might hate it. I don't know. We're going to have to see. I have pocket sevens on the button. This hand is straddled to 5. There's going to be like 3 or 4 limpers, a bunch of limps to me on the button, and I'm just going to over limp for $5. I would obviously love to see a flop with this hand. I don't think there's any reason to bump it up necessarily. Yeah, I'm in position, but like whatever. We're going to see a flop. If we flop a set, we're going to be able to get plenty of money in. I'm sure. I'm not really too worried about it. But then all of a sudden, small blind, he sits there for a second. He's like, let's make it 50 bucks. $50 from 5 to 50 out of nowhere. Everybody folds. Everybody folds pretty quickly. It gets back to me, and I start thinking, I'm like, you know, this obviously could be a monster hand, very, very big bet, but I think most players at these games, they get scared with like aces and kings. Not that they're scared, but that they don't want to scare other people off. So I think some big bet like this, I think it's going to be big cards. I think it's going to be something like ace king, maybe like an ace queen suited type of hand or something like that. I think I'm just going to know where I'm at a lot in this hand. I think this is going to be just pretty straightforward and maybe easy to play post flop. Now again, if you want to tell me this is just a snap fold, get this thing in the muck, whatever, I wouldn't argue with you too much, but I get a little curious. I'm gonna stick in the 50 bucks with these pocket sevens. Also, the biggest thing here is that we're both playing like 500 effective, so even just straight up like set mining with this hand, I don't think is totally terrible. But like I said, I think we're gonna know where we're at as soon as we see this flop. I make the call for 50. Flop comes out 9-5-4. Definitely not a flop that I hate at all, and then he decides to check. Now I don't necessarily think this means weakness. I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, I think it's actually pretty popular to just be checking a lot out of position. I don't know if that's because Hungry Horse is so popular or what, but tons of people are checking. I don't want to bet and get sucked into some kind of check raise, whether it's bluff or value or whatever. You know, I'm not trying to play some gigantic pot here with pocket sevens. There's still a lot of bad runouts for us, whatever. I'm happy with this flop, but I don't think I need to be putting any more money in just yet or getting baited into something in case he does have one of those super strong hands, which again, I don't necessarily think this check is weakness. I check back. Turn is a 5, another great card. He checks again. Okay, at this point, if he had some kind of big hand, I don't really give him credit for checking twice. I don't really think anybody does that. I think if he had ace or kings, he's coming out and betting for sure. So now I do think for sure he has one of those big card hands, whether you want to give him ace king, ace queen, ace jack, king queen, whatever. So I do think I need to start putting some money in now. Again, pot is like 125 bucks, somewhere around there. I decided to just bet 30. Very, very, very small. But again, I'm targeting non-paired hands. I'm targeting big cards. I need to bet small just to try to string him along, try to get a little bit of extra money in here. I could bet massive, but like, you know, maybe for protection or try to put him in a tough spot or whatever, but I don't think that's necessary. I bet 30. He makes the call. River is going to be a 4. Now, obviously, this is an amazing card. No big cards come in. I think we have the best hand all the time. He checks, and I decide to bet out for 50 bucks. I tried at picking a number that I thought ace high would call, and he actually tanked for a long time, and then he started talking to himself. He's like, oh, what, man, you just have like pocket sixes here, which is obviously pretty funny. He's a pretty solid player. He ended up, you know, winning a lot of money today. He didn't really do anything crazy the whole time, so he does end up actually making the fold. Obviously, I don't see exactly what he had. I assume it had to be ace high. Maybe he was even going to get curious with like king high. I don't think so. But yeah, I don't know if I really could have gone any smaller here. But like I said, I tried to pick an amount that I thought ace high would call, but he does make the laydown. No matter what, still think this is a pretty interesting hand. So this next hand, we're going to be in the cutoff, and hey, we got pocket kings. Sweet. That is obviously a very good hand, and under the gun is going to raise it up to 10 bucks. There's going to be 2 callers before we get to me, and I'm going to make it 55. I have a good hand. I'm raising it up, plain and simple. Small blind, or big blind, I mean, is actually going to go all in for $50, and then under the gun is going to make the call for 55 as well. The other players are going to fold, so we're going to the flop 3 ways, I guess, but obviously one of them's all in, and then we have a side pot of like 10 bucks, so I don't know. It doesn't really change the hand too much, but we do have a small side pot here. Flop is going to be 10-9-4 with 2 clubs. Eventually, under the gun is going to check, and then I'm going to bet 40. I don't really know how to play these, like, you know, pots with a small side pot perfectly, I guess, but I do know I have kings on 10 9 4, so I'm gonna bet, and I want to bet pretty small. You know, keeping a lot of their hands. We're going for value, see what they want to do here, and she decides to make an interesting play. She decides to hit us with the min click. She raises it up to 80 bucks. Now, if I remember correctly, she has something like 250 300 bucks behind, something like that, and I don't think the min click is necessarily a sign of strength, so I'm just gonna make the call. I don't want to, you know, blow her out of the pot. I don't want to make it so, I don't want to turn my hand directly face up, and if she wants to keep bluffing or keep overvaluing whatever she has, like, I think we're in pretty good shape, and no matter what, I'm probably not getting away for this hand for the amount of stack depth that she has left, and I don't think there's a lot of bad turn cards either. But what we do end up getting on the turn is a king. Now, other than an ace, I actually think this is like the second worst card, because I think we just have the best hand always. I don't think we need to make top set, obviously, and I also think that a king is going to be one of those cards that scares off a lot of her hands, a lot of those weak hands, or just completely airball bluff hands, whatever, that she's doing this with. And she actually folds pretty quickly when I do decide to bet 50 bucks on the turn, so I think she probably just didn't have much of anything anyway. We do eventually get a queen on the river, and we are going to win against ace queen, so nice little pot we're taking down. And now we're going to start the downward descent of this session. I have 8-7 suited in early position. I decided to raise it up to 10 bucks. Next to act makes it 35. Pretty tight player, pretty solid player as well. I don't know. It's such a small size that I'm not going anywhere. Should I be playing as many suited connectors as I am from up front? Should I be, you know, playing them out of position? No and no, but for only 25 more bucks, and with how deep both of us are, we're playing like $700-800 deep in this hand. Like, I think it's a fine call, but I probably am playing too many suited connectors, especially from up front, and I probably am playing them out of position too much as well. But we go to a flop that is 8-5 deuce all hearts. Now, obviously, I do not have a heart in my hand. I decide to check it over, and he is going to bet 25 bucks. I think here on the flop, we have a pretty easy call. We have a pair, you know, whatever. He could just be range betting. He could be betting with one heart. He may have a flush, but 25 bucks, keeping it small, keeping it cheap. We have top pair. We're not going anywhere. Turn is going to be a 5. Obviously, it's an offsuit 5, and I think this is a pretty good card for us still. If he was already beating us, he's still beating us, and if he does have just one of those one heart hands, maybe he's going to keep barreling, and maybe we can, you know, get a little bit more money out of him here. I don't know. It's going to depend on his sizing. His sizing is going to tell us a lot, I think. I obviously just decided to check it over again, and he is eventually going to bet $75 here. Now, that is definitely the bigger size, and the size that I probably should be a little bit afraid of. He, like I said, what's he gonna have here? He could have some of these suited like Broadway type hands, which are obviously already gonna be a flush. I don't really think he's doing this bet size with something that doesn't have a heart. I think he's got one heart or two hearts for sure. Some of the suited Broadways are already gonna be flushes. He could be doing this with pocket pairs with a heart in it, which obviously most of those are gonna have me beat. I think probably all of those are gonna have me beat, but he also could be doing this with like ace king, ace queen, ace jack with one heart, whether it's the ace or the other card of hearts. I don't know. This is probably a bad call. This is probably just supposed to be a fold. People probably aren't bluffing, especially at 1-2 often enough. I decide to make the bad call, and whatever. We get the king on the river. That's, again, a terrible card. I check, he checks, and we lose to pocket jacks with a jack of hearts. Not really a surprise. Like I said, I think we can just fold the turn. So this one's not really a hand I'm dying to relive, but whatever, let's do it. I get pocket kings in the cutoff. Black kings, once again, very, very awesome hand, obviously. There's a couple of limps to me. I decided to make it 20 bucks. I'm trying to go big with value hands in this game. Over a couple limps, whatever. 20's not like insane. People open to 10, 15, 25 all the time. So 20 bucks. And the crazy part about this is, again, one of the best and worst things about low stakes is we are going 6 ways to the flop. There you can see there the dealer knocks over my stack. We already have some bad vibes and bad mojo going on in this one. We go to a flop of 10-7-3 with 2 spades. Now it's going to get over to somebody in middle position, and she is going to bet $50. She's just going to lead out for 50. Now, this woman has been playing pretty crazy. She's been losing a lot. She's been very aggressive, with one pair. Like if she's got top pair, if she's got a good draw, whatever, she's seeing the whole board. She's been aggressive. She's bluffing. She's doing all kinds of different stuff. So I just decided to call her $50. I don't want to scare her off. There's still a lot of people behind us as well. Maybe we can keep some other players in. I don't know. I just make the call here. If she wants to keep being aggressive, keep bluffing, keep being crazy, I'm going to let her. So I call for 50. And then the small blind decides to bump it up to $300. Now, I know I said the last time we got in a situation like this is a situation that happens all the time in low stakes. You're going to have an overpair, you're going to have a weird board like this, and then people are going to start going crazy, and you're going to have to make big decisions in big pots like this. Now, the person in middle position, they make the call for like $200, $250, something like that. They have less than this $300 bet, and now it's back on me. And like I said, I've played a lot of low stakes. I've seen this spot a lot, and typically I've been making the fold here because, like I said, people, when the pot gets big, when they make big bets, they're under bluffing, they're way too strong. But as I think about it more and more, I'm like, all those times where I've made the folds, if I just pressed call every single time, I would be up money because I've seen so much weird, so much insane, so much crazy stuff that so often, or at least often enough, you have the best hand here. And just the other day, I folded those pocket tens and I have the best hand. Now, again, I know this hand's a little bit different since I made a call and she raised, where the other time I was just facing a bet, but you even saw that the guy ended up raising behind me last time with just ace queen on a weird board. And that was a big bet into a bunch of people. This is a small bet and a call into just a small amount of people. So I don't know. I feel like this lady has more incentive to be going crazier with different hands. Also, my hand is just stronger this time. 10 or kings are obviously stronger than tens. And another interesting note here is that she would do this, I think, with jacks and queens as well. People are not three betting jacks and queens all the time at 1-2. A lot of times people are calling jacks and queens a lot of times at 1-2. So I think jacks and queens are not entirely out of her range. And obviously those are hands that I beat. So I think there's enough hands that I beat that make this not an absolute punt, not an absolutely terrible call. I don't know. But like I said, I already had that big hand that I lost a couple days ago, and I kind of made it a point that, hey, I want to start making the call a little bit more in this situation. So I decided to make the call. She goes, do you have an overpair? I'm like, yeah. She goes, okay, well, I have two pair. I'm like, okay, great, whatever, let's go. We see a run out of an 8 and a 3, the bottom card pairs. And for a split second, I think, oh my God, we just banked this. She just got counterfeit. She's got 10-7, and we are going to take this monster pot down. And then she flips over 7-3 suited for the rivered boat. And we lose this massive pot. Maybe I played it terrible. Maybe I punted. Once again, let me know. So after that very fun hand, we do end up booking a $353 loss in that second session. Honestly, I don't know. Is it like a moral victory to only lose $353 in a session where you lose a massive pot like that? I guess so. And we are still up $530 so far in the professional poker and the vlogging career so far. So let's go. We got one more session left in this video. It's going to be a little bit of a quicker one. Don't want to make this video too long. Let's go. So we dust ourselves off and we get back out there. We've got pocket sevens in middle position. There is a straddle to 5. There's a limp. There's another limp. And I'm going to make it $25 with my pocket sevens. And in Texas 1-2 fashion, even for $25, we are going to end up going 5 ways to this flop. So this pot is built up pretty nicely, but obviously to beat 5 people with a middling to low pocket pair, we're going to need to hit a set, and then hopefully we're going to have a lot of chances to get paid, and we're going to be able to win a big one. Up comes out ace, queen, 8, rainbow. That is a pretty big miss. There are 3 overcards to our pocket sevens on this board. Not exactly ideal. Definitely not what we're looking for. Everyone checks it over to us. We are going to check as well, and that is going to take us to a turn. And the turn, it's a pretty good one. We bank the 7. This is a dream spot. We turn a set, a pretty disguised set, in a super multi-way pot. The pot is already built up as well. This is like as good as it gets, and it gets even better when An early position player bets out for $75. The next person folds. Now it's to me, and I think I need to raise. Yeah, whatever. I could call. The pot's already big. It's probably not going to be that difficult to get the money in on the river if he keeps betting or whatever, but I want to raise here. I want to, I don't know, I have a good hand. Obviously, I want to put more money in. I decided to make it 215. We're playing like 500 effective, so it's kind of like an awkward size where this raise is like, I only have like $200 behind or something like that, 250. You know, we don't really have that much behind with it. I can maybe raise a little bit smaller. I don't know. I don't hate this size, I guess, but it's probably not perfect. It folds back to him. He starts thinking for a little while. He's a super funny guy. He's thinking. He goes, you know what? I think that you have an ace. And that beats me. So he decides to fold. I don't know. This just sucks. I feel like this is really unlucky. Again, like flopping a set or turning a set super multi-way and then having somebody bet big into you. You think that's a hand where you're about to get paid. You think that's a hand where you're about to double up big. But apparently nobody had anything because even the guy who decided to bet 75 didn't even have an ace beat. So obviously last session the pocket kings did not work. Let's try pocket aces instead. Early position is going to raise it up to 15. There's going to be one call. There's going to be two calls to me. So we have an opportunity to bump this up and hopefully get some value with our aces. I decided to make it $80. It folds back to the early position initial raiser. He starts tanking. He's a young kid, a regular. I see him here pretty much every single day. Obviously a pretty tight, aggressive player. He decides to make it $215. He's playing right around $500. It's a $500 cap game. You know, most of the regulars are going to be buying in for that. The next guy folds, and then the next guy who, the second caller of the 15, he's thinking for a little bit. I'm not sure what he's thinking about, but he's tanking, you know, running down the time that we're paying here in Texas before he folds. And I don't know. We don't have very much money behind. I'm not going to slow play this. This is just going in, and he's obviously never folding. I don't think people are really 4-bet folding half of their stack at any stakes. So I decide to go all in. Obviously, I have him covered, and he makes the call, and now all of a sudden we're playing a $1,000 pot. And hey, if you're going to play a $1,000 pot, pocket aces is a pretty good hand to have. And the board, the flop runs out king high. A flush draw comes in on the turn, and another diamond comes in on the river, but you can see there he mucks, and we are picking this one up. So good time for aces, good time to get action with our aces, and sometimes poker is really this simple, and you just get this nice little chip stack pushed your way. And honestly, after this last session, I feel like we deserve it a little bit. This is a kind of annoying hand, but it starts obviously with me having pocket queens in middle position. This hand is actually straddled to $10, so it's folded to me and I open to 35. It's going to get to the button, who is actually going to make the call for 35, and then we get to the small blind. This is a young kid, definitely nittier. I want to say maybe even on the side of like scared money or something like that. He's like tanking a lot every single hand, like Hollywooding, being super dramatic. It's kind of weird. I don't know, but whatever. Just the type of player type we're working with here. He is playing $500 and he decides to make it $175 here. Now again, $175 is not an amount that you see very often pre-flop at 1-2. Now I get it, this is a hand that straddled to 10, the $35 open size, but still, even then, the absolute dollar amounts definitely matter. And yeah, this $175 bet, there's going to be some people who do this with ace king. There's going to be some people who will not even do this with ace king. Some people, this is only going to be aces and kings, especially when I have pocket queens. But I don't know, I think it's ace king often enough, but no matter what, I'm not loving this spot. It's just kind of an annoying gross spot. It's probably not a lot of the hands that I'm dominating, probably not, maybe not any hands that I'm coolering, probably not jacks or tens, nothing like that. I don't really know. Like I said, just an annoying spot overall. Whatever. I call the 175, the other guy gets out of the way, and we go to an ace 10-4 flop. Obviously, now my hand is pretty much just trash. Maybe we're going to have some opportunity to like bluff or something if we want, but I'm not really in the business of bluffing, you know, 3-bet pots with low SPR. Like I said, I think he pretty much has aces, kings, and ace king only here. So the ace high flop pretty much puts a wrap on this hand. But he's going to bet really small. He's going to bet $55, and whatever. For $55, I think it's fine to peel one here. Maybe we can hit a queen and get the rest of it. Like, it's just so cheap. I could fold, but I don't know. 55 into this amount, Seems like a call to me, but maybe my intuition is wrong or bad or whatever. We get a 9 on the turn, and he is actually going to decide to check, which whatever, could be slow playing aces still, could be checking just because he has kings and there's an ace on the board, but still, even for the amount of money we have left, it's like, do I want to turn this into a bluff? I don't know. He probably has kings, but maybe not. Then we do get a jack on the river, so even if there was a small smidgen of pocket jacks in here that I was beating and I'm maybe going to beat once we get to showdown, obviously I now lose to that hand as well. And then once he decides to rip it for the remaining like $275-ish on the river, I actually feel a lot better about not going for the bluff on the turn, because I think it's just much more likely he was slow playing a hand like aces on the turn. But yeah, I don't really know. I don't think I did anything too egregiously bad in this hand. Just kind of an annoying one, especially when you see you got pocket queens, you're hoping to win some money. Didn't go my way this time. And that does wrap up the third and final session of this video. Like I said, kind of a shorter session, but still some pretty cool and interesting hands that I wanted to throw in here real quick. We ended up $404 in that session, brings us to a total of $934 profit in the 4 sessions total that I've been vlogging so far. So we're off to a pretty good start. Things are going pretty good. I haven't played, you know, my best necessarily. I think there's definitely some things that I'm learning even from just making these videos that I can improve on and want to improve on, but profit is profit. So far, so good. Quitting my job and making some money and having fun and making these videos. Hopefully we can keep all this good stuff rolling. Until next time, peace.